Ruben Amorim is officially Manchester United's new coach. Or should we still refer to him as their white knight coming to the rescue on a foggy Mancunian morning? Because at just 39 years old, all he's done in his 5-year-old career is save poorly run clubs. Even though I get the doubters and naysayers who believe he'll just be another manager buried in what they used to call the theater of dreams, I don't think that's going to happen. In this video, I'm going to explore the unlikely rise of Ruben Amorim. From his days as a failed footballer to his evolution as Mourinho's protege, I'll dive deep into why I believe he'll be the one to bring Man United back to the top of European football. And I'm 100% sure that by the end of this video, you'll think the same as me. But first, let me give you some context. I've known Ruben Amorim since 2006. He was actually part of the first crop of promising Portuguese youngsters that I witnessed as a young kid. I'm talking about Ronaldo, Nani, Moutinho, and to a lesser extent, guys like Varela, Amorim, Yannick Jaló, or Targino. By the way, the first person who actually knows something about this last guy will get their comment pinned. Either way, despite making his pro debut at only 18 years old as one of brilliance's biggest prospects, it took him 5 seasons to get his dream move to his boyhood club, Benfica. The same club that rejected him when he was still a teenager and would go on to do the same thing multiple times in his career. But hey, in life, the things that you love don't always love you back. Nonetheless, Amorim fulfilled his dream of becoming a champion with Benfica in 2010. Plus, he got a lot of game time as he was decent enough in an era where Benfica was still a few notches below Porto. Those minutes eventually earned him an emergency call-up to the 2010 World Cup following Nani's injury, which, by the way, made zero sense as they played in different positions and Amorim would only play 5 minutes in total during the tournament. For you watching, this should probably feel like the beginning of his prime, where he finally transformed his potential into reality, but it wasn't. It was far from it. Benfica gave him many opportunities in his first 2 seasons, but he was never as influential as expected. So Benfica bought Nico Gaetan and gave way more opportunities to Carlos Martins, which pushed Ruben Amorim out of the club. Furthermore, it was also in 2010 that Amorim suffered 2 devastating injuries that would take years out of his career. It was truly a bittersweet year for him. On one hand, he won the league with his boyhood club and debuted with Portugal in the World Cup. On the other, he suffered an injury that cost him his spot at Benfica. His knee issues required surgery, and as a result, Amorim missed the majority of the 2010-11 season. Although, truth be told, I think all Benfica fans were better off skipping that year altogether. The problem was that during his time away, Jorge Jesus realized Benfica didn't really need him, not even as a sub. In 11-12, Benfica bought Witzel, Enzo Perez and Matic, 3 players with a much higher ceiling than Amorim. And so, they got rid of him. Benfica sent him on loan to Braga, where he finally found his footing once again and returned to the national team. It was also during his time with Braga that he visited Old Trafford for the first time in a losing effort. After 2 seasons, Benfica gave Amorim another chance, and once again, the midfielder was an important piece in their title conquest. Just like in 2010, he wasn't a surefire starter, but he covered holes and was extremely hardworking. His influence got him a trip to Brazil, which wasn't successful by any means. But hey, second World Cup presence. I know many world-class individuals who couldn't even make it to one. Haaland, Aubameyang, George Best. At least he had the experience, and at the same time, he proved once and for all that he earned his spot in Benfica's squad. And then, he got injured. His knee gave in again, right when he was about to step up as one of Benfica's locker room leaders. He missed almost the entire season before being sent on loan to Qatar. At that point, Ruben knew he was done. He could make a comeback as he had in the past, but what was the point? He knew that at 31, with fucked up knees, he could either collect paychecks in the Middle East or play for low-level Portuguese teams, and for a football purist like Amorim, that just doesn't cut it. It's pretty clear that the man values meaning in everything he does, and he felt he could add something to Portuguese football despite his young age. For context, at the time he decided to embark on a trip to Manchester to learn from Mourinho, the toxicity in Portuguese football was at an all-time high. Presidents fighting presidents, managers spitting venom at one another, there was more hate than ever before, and even though much of it was fueled by the media, the protagonists had their fair share of blame. From the very beginning, Amorim vowed to go against all of it: the mind games, the confrontational posture, and the outdated tactics. His mission was clear, but it certainly had quite some bumps in the road. Starting from the very beginning. As part of his quest to get his UEFA coaching license, Amorim spent his mandatory internship at Casa Pia. Of course, he couldn't be anything more than an assistant manager, but in reality, he was running the whole thing. Until one day, he was caught shouting instruction from the touchline and was severely punished. The club was fined, and Amorim was banned from registering as head coach for 1 year. It was a setback that could have made many interested clubs wary of signing him, but fortunately for him, that wasn't the case. Just a few months later, Braga gave him an opportunity when nobody else would, just like during his days as a player, and he quickly rose to the club's ranks. He got off to a great start with the reserve team, and despite taking over Braga on a temporary basis after they fired Sapinto, he earned a permanent spot after impressing the whole country with positive football and multiple wins over Benfica, Porto and Sporting. Furthermore, his debut was a 7-1 beatdown, and during his short stint, Braga didn't lose a single time in the league. If Amorim had stayed the whole season as Braga's head coach, especially in that horrible year for the Giants, I genuinely believe we'd be talking about how he won a championship in his debut year. It wasn't meant to be, and he wouldn't even finish the season with Braga. As similarly to his current situation, Sporting paid his release clause and Braga was forced to let him go along with their future title aspirations. Everyone was shocked at the time by how Sporting was willing to pay 10 million euros for a guy who hadn't even completed a full season in charge. Just like the Brits are flabbergasted by how United are someone with no experience running a big club. Amorim didn't change Sporting overnight. In fact, he couldn't even surpass Braga in the table with the limited time he was given. But behind the scenes, he was planting the seeds for the complete transformation that we witnessed in the following season. And I think the same will happen with United. It's simply unfathomable to me how Amorim can pick up a team that wasn't built in his image, full of overpaid players who simply aren't good enough to fight for a Premier League title or even qualify for the Champions League. Besides, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool and even Aston Villa are all playing much better football at the moment. How can United realistically surpass at least two of them? I doubt it will happen this year. But the difference that will make or break Amorim in England is patience and a willingness to trust his vision. Even though he failed to reach the podium in his first months in charge, Sporting's president bent to his will and invested in the signings he wanted. And the next year, he paid them back with a championship. But after that, he didn't just dominate the league. Sporting spent 2 years behind their rivals, and in 22-23, they even finished in 4th place. Can Man United show the same level of patience? They already gave Erik ten Hag a lot of time and got nothing substantial in return. Maybe they're really desperate for a change, and that's why they insisted Amorim join the club in the middle of what seems like a lost season. I really hope that's not the case. For the sake of his career, I hope they push for his arrival to prepare for the next season and take full advantage of Amorim's scouting team. It would be a waste if United didn't believe in Amorim's abilities. That man has made locker rooms full of guys older than him willing to die for him on the pitch. Just look at his last home match. Sporting had no obligation whatsoever to beat Man City, but they did so, and by a large margin. Even when he's about to leave, the guy is still able to keep his locker room focused and inspired. But this doesn't surprise me that much. After all, Amorim rescued Sporting from a 20-year drought and almost brought Braga to a maiden championship win. So, is it really that hard to believe he can lead United back to the top of European football? Klopp shares a similar profile and succeeded with Liverpool. Mourinho, although far more abrasive than Amorim, transformed Chelsea into one of Europe's top clubs. Even Sir Alex Ferguson, who started out with just local experience, built United's golden era. My point is this has been done before. 11 years of drought is nothing in a 160-year-old sport. With the right man, anything is possible, and as a Portuguese fan who's watched Amorim's rise, I guarantee you he's the one. Do you believe me now? Well, if you don't, why don't you watch my analysis on Sporting's incredible rise to the top of Portuguese football? I go in depth into how serious their situation was and show how Amorim, alongside Varandas, managed to turn it all around. I'll see you there.